Our next guest, Brendan Hunt, has done a lot to grow the global game, soccer, here in the United States through his work in front of the camera and now behind a microphone. You can catch him on After the Whistle, an Apple News original podcast that Meadowlark helped put together in season one. Brendan and Rebecca Lowe do a phenomenal job with that podcast. It is World Cup time. Somebody remind
A little must win, huh?
A little must win at 3 a.m. A little must watch at 3 a.m. too.
A little can draw, I think, also technically.
Yeah, and I want to reiterate that it is the Women's World Cup, and it's going on right now because Gianni Infantino doesn't seem to know that. The FIFA president, who showed up to multiple games in a day, sometimes leaving at halftime to show up in another game for the Men's World Cup, has not really shown up to that many Women's World Cup games. In fact, I think he's taking a holiday right now. So, Brendan,
he's a busy man.
We welcome you aboard because in a few hours, you're going to be traveling to Sydney, and you're going to be watching this this match between Portugal and the United States, which is hugely important, but also impossibly late for East Coasters. What are you feeling going into this
early,
trip?
really?
Yeah.
First of all, thanks for having me, and Johnny Infantino, you can go to hell. And on top of that, I won't be flying till after the USA-Portugal game, but then once, and hopefully the U.S. advances, or I will be taking a long trip for substantially less value than I had hoped. But I'm just going to be happy to be in the proper time zones to watch these games. These things are murder. 3 a.m., 6 a.m. I got a kid. This is nuts.
Yeah, if you sense the United States is not going to win that game, are you still hopping on the bird or what? I mean,
we got tickets to the zoo.
Can't
let those go to waste. No, I'll still head down there. I mean, a couple weeks in Sydney and New Zealand with the family, that should be all right. And there'll still be good games to watch. Just, this shirt will have become meaningless.
Well, United States women's national team aside, it has been a pretty fascinating tournament in terms that it's been really unpredictable. Colombia's upset over Germany, and we can get into a little bit later in the show, their ability, that women's national team's ability to persevere over a really toxic environment has been one of the best stories of the tournament. Linda Caicedo appears to be one of the best players in the world. However, we're coming off of what many are saying is a pretty disappointing U.S. performance, and that only one substitution was made. They left points out there. They did have to battle back from down 1-0. Netherlands are a really good team. That was a rematch of a former final, but as a huge U.S. soccer supporter, were you, like most, hugely disappointed with how that game was managed?
It does seem like we had Jill Ellis on our podcast, and she mentioned this too, and bless her heart for kind of being honest about giving notes to the current regime. But one of the strengths of the U.S. team is depth, so you might as well use it at least a little bit. And to not make a single substitution except for the one at halftime just seems a little bit of a waste of resources. But could have been worse, could have lost. And at least they're in a position to run things against Portugal. But, Portugal's going to be one of those park the bus teams, and that can be very, very tough. And as we're seeing in some of these other results, anything can happen.
Were you a big soccer fan before Ted Lasso, or are you just riding this wave here and faking it?
I was not a soccer fan at all as a kid.
Right.
Growing up in Chicago, it was just, the pro sports was all I needed.
Mm-hmm.
But then I moved to Amsterdam to do comedy out there in 1999, and this is pre-streaming, this is pre-broadband. I couldn't just keep up with what the Bulls and Bears were doing, and Michael Jordan had just retired anyway, surely to never return, and so the door was open for soccer to come walking in, and long story short, I caught the bug hard, and it has never let me go.
In watching this tournament, we outlined the Colombian performance against Germany. New Zealand has been bounced. I think as of this morning, Canada has been bounced. What storylines are you finding most intriguing? What teams are you most surprised by?
Nigeria has been pretty damn exciting to make it through, especially since part of them making it through was getting past Canada, who are the Olympic champions and one of the powers of the game. Colombia beating Germany in the 98th minute or something. That's what Germany does to whoever they're playing. That's not supposed to happen against Germany. So all the big guns are taking beatings. And it's still going to be, all the big ones on top of the hill by the end for sure. But France was in trouble for a second. Now Brazil's in trouble because of France. But most of all, I'm super happy that Australia has made it through. Every World Cup is better when the host sticks around for as long as they possibly can. And for them to have been bounced because the best player in the world, their striker Sam Kerr, got hurt the day before the tournament was supposed to start, that would have been cruel. That would have been angry football gods for no good reason. So I'm glad I'll be going down to a country that's going to still be like up for it and into it, and feel that World Cup host country energy, because that's the rare stuff that you gotta soak in when you can.
The United States has been oddly wasteful. It's not a lack of chances that they're getting in these games. It's a lack of finishing. And to your point, their huge advantage over these other nations is the waves upon waves of unrelenting depth and talent that they can throw at teams. It's been said that a team filled with a starting 11 that didn't make the U.S. national team could advance to the knockout stages in this tournament. What is the salvo for a lack of finishing, or is it just a numbers game and they'll ascend to the mean?
I think the latter, primarily. Enough chances eventually they got to start going in. There's some vets still on this team, from the last World Cup and the one before that. And then there's some new players. We're in the first World Cup, and hopefully some of them are just getting over, nerves or rookiness or what have you. Trinity Rodman is an amazing player, and she's up there and she still hasn't scored yet. And it's like, it feels like the dam's going to break. Like once she scores one, she's going to get, 10 in a minute. So hopefully the dam breaking is kind of what we're building toward in this Portugal game. Like this Portugal game could be 0-0, or it could be 6-0. Like there's kind of no middle ground. But yeah, like all the shots have been there. There's been statistical dominance for 2 games. There's just been no goals. And I hear tell those are important. So hopefully those are coming around.
If you were Mr. Manager for the day for this U.S.-Portugal game, who would you be starting in your starting 11 that we maybe haven't seen yet, and who would you be subbing in to maybe get some goals later on in the second half?
I think, this is not even a hot take. This is the most lukewarm of takes, but it's probably time for Rose Lavelle to start. Even if she can't go full 90, you probably got to get her out at the beginning and see how that affects the attacking chemistry of everybody. And as much as I do still believe in Trinity Rodman, she is young and she has not performed quite yet. So maybe have Lynn Williams up there. But other than that, I wouldn't want to shake things up too much, because again, they've been playing well, except for that one important detail of the ball in the onion bag, etc.
Speaking of balls and onion bags, do you have a favorite
go
goal
on.
yet of this group stage? Is it the goal in the 97th minute against Germany yesterday that we were already talking about a little bit, or do you have another one that has stood out to you?
I think it's the earlier goal for Colombia, the one that put them ahead 1-0 by Linda Caicedo that Mike was just mentioning. That thing is a rocket, and plus she has a defender in front of her and behind her, and just like doop to the right, and then it's in there from 15 yards. It's a heck of a goal. Google that.
I'm patriotic, so mine was Lindsey Horan's goal against the Netherlands, but
I am also
fine.
I am also patriotic, but I'm less patriotic at 3 a.m. in the morning. And given how much Ted Lasso has done for uplifting people's spirits during a time that we really needed it, I need you to make me feel better that if that alarm goes off at 2:58 and I decide to hit snooze, I can still feel like a patriot.
Well, I don't know. Is there anything less patriotic than the snooze button, Mike? Really? Did we snooze
yes,
our
time
way?
zones. Time zones are less
Wake yourself up by the
patriotic.
bootstraps, Mike.
Time zones are less patriotic. If time zones were patriotic, everybody would be on the same East Coast time.
We didn't snooze our way across the Delaware. We didn't snooze our way to Omaha Beach.
You snooze, you lose. Am I right, Brendan?
100%. No, I mean, they're going to play the game. I mean, 3 o'clock is so much tougher than, it's going to be midnight here. And like, okay, I can just about do midnight. So I have enormous sympathy for all you East Coast folk. That's a drag.
I also have a child. This is not going to be easy.
Yeah.
But this is me basically wanting to be applauded for my ability to just sit down on a couch and watch soccer as opposed to playing it. But you can say more about me than you can for Gianni Infantino, who can't be bothered on his holiday to even show up to these important games. Brendan, I am curious, before we let you go, and once again, check out After the Whistle, a great podcast that he does with Rebecca Lowe, who we're huge fans of here. You represent, and that show represented so much to so many people. And I think maybe you get into some awkward situations where people are just trying to convey that to you, that you represented so much positivity in their lives that you get maybe trauma diarrhea just projected all over to you, all over you because of when your show showed up in the national discussion. How often do you have to excuse yourself from a conversation because of how much you mean to somebody and you're just some dude on a show and you have to grapple with how important you are to that person, but also you got to go make lunch?
Yeah, people are fine, especially except for when they come into my house while I'm making lunch. That part is a little too intimate and personal. I wish they wouldn't, but I leave the door open, and that's on me. People are nice, and for people to like stuff you've done enough to come up and say hi about it, that's more blessing than curse. And really, for the most part, people just want selfies. And like, I don't know what it was like in this situation in the 80s or 70s, but a selfie, if nothing else, is a very clear transaction with a very clear time limit on it. So we can all get through it together, and so just go for it. But everyone's lovely. Everyone's lovely, and it's a good position to be in.
How often does someone try to retake the selfie with you? And at that point,
they don't get a second chance.
No, they do.
Get out of
There's
here.
some, I don't like how I came out in
chances.
that.
Get it right the first
Did
time.
you check the selfie to see how you came out?
He grabs the phone at some point. It's like, I'll do it.
Yeah.
No, he breaks it.
I will often give a second chance because sometimes they're just straight up nervous and it's adorable. But by the third, it's like, hey, I'm sorry, you got to get out of my house now. I really shouldn't have been here in the first place. I'm about to burn this grilled cheese. Thank you for stopping by.
Also, if they have the live setting, just go to edit, hit that 2-circle thing, and I'm sure there's a good one in there.
Oh, yeah, 100%. What great technology.
It's a secret to everything. This is your first Women's World Cup that you're attending, or have you attended another one?
No, it will be the first proper Women's World Cup I've been to. Even when '99 happened, I was in Amsterdam by then. So like the whole kind of beginning of that like wave and phenomenon happening, I was very removed from. Like I remember reading about it on ESPN, but like, oh, wow, we have a Women's World Cup. How about that?
Yeah.
But I've caught up. I mean, really, it came down to in 2015. The 2015 final was the first one. I was like, all right, I'm watching this final. My family's in town. We've got shirts. We're going to the bar. We're watching the final. And Carly Lloyd comes in and scores a hat trick in the first half, including a goal from the halfway line. Like, okay, I'm late to this party, but I'm now in. I'm making arrangements. I'm buying the kegs. I'm making sure the cupcakes are all the right color. This is it for the rest of the way. And so I'm very happy to finally be getting to one. Again, hopefully the U.S. will still be in it by the time I get off.
Yeah, sincerely hope.
But Australia's there, so you're fine.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's your second team.
Yeah,
backup
for hosting.
team. Yes, right.
100%. I will switch horses that quick.
Yeah, we're based out of Miami, and you have like a fundamental responsibility to feel like you're part Colombian anytime they're in an international competition, just because the parties are so good. Brendan, we appreciate you taking the time. Have a safe trip out to Australia to echo Stugotz's statement and America's statement. We really hope you don't go there for nothing, and that they can win this game, or at least get a positive result at 3 a.m. Eastern. Check out his podcast, After the Whistle, with Rebecca Lowe, and some shows that we'd love to talk to you more about, but we know that there's that pesky strike thing going on, Brendan, so we appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. USA!